morning and welcome to Story Time at the Gerbrant House. We're excited to have you join us this morning for our little mini story and chapel time. This morning we're going to be reading a book called Milo and the Magical Stones because one, it's so fun to read a book when it has your name in it, and two, this is a super awesome story that we've really enjoyed reading, and I think it's a meaningful message that we'd like to share with you guys today. So here we go, Milo and the Magical Stones. In the middle of the sea, there was an island, and on this island lived Milo and the other cliff mice. They loved their island. It provided them with food and shelter and protection from the rough storms that pounded against the cliffs. During the summer, Milo and his friends worked hard gathering food. Sometimes they would take a break from their work and skip flat stones out over the sea. In the evenings, the mice would stretch out on the cliffs that had been warmed by the sun and watch the stars in the night sky. If it was warm enough, they would spend the entire night outside telling stories and enjoying the summer air. Can we turn the page? But when the first winter storm arrived, the mice would spend most of the time huddled in their dark, damp caves, dreaming of light and warmth. After one of these storms, Milo crept out of his cave looking for food. He poked his nose curiously into every crevice. Then, in a particularly deep crevice, he saw something extraordinary. A strange glowing stone. Using a long stick, he carefully pried it out and carried it back to his cave. Milo was amazed to see that the darker it got, the more brightly the stone glowed. And not only did it provide light, it also gave a comforting warmth. Happily, Milo curled up in the corner of his cave with his new treasure. But he was not alone for long because the bright light soon attracted the other mice. Everyone wanted a stone of his own, and they asked Milo to show them where he had found his. But just as they were about to set off, wise Balthazar stood up and spoke. He said, "Don't forget, the stones belong to the island. If you take something from the island, you must give something in return." And now we have an option of a sad ending or a happy ending to this story. We're going to start with the sad one today, but don't worry, we're going to finish it off with the happy ending too. Only Milo heeded to the warning. He immediately began to think about what gift he could give to the island. But the other mice hurried off to find the glowing stones. They squeezed into the tunnel and started digging wildly. Using sharp rocks, they chipped away at the walls of the tunnel. They tossed the smaller stones aside. They wanted only the biggest ones. Then the mice dragged the glowing stones into their caves. They grew greedy and jealous and spent so much time worrying about who had the most stones that they couldn't even enjoy the comfort that the stones had brought to them. Milo watched his friends sadly. He worried about what Balthazar had said, and he wondered what would happen. He sighed. There was nothing he could do but get back to work on the gift he had thought to give back to the island. Soon the mice decided that they needed more of the magical stones, so they crept back into the tunnel and dug day and night, piling the magical stones in and around their caves until the whole island glowed. They boasted about their stones and argued about who had the most, the biggest and the brightest. The mice were consumed with greed, and as they dug deeper and deeper, the walls of the mountain got thinner and thinner. Before long, the mountain was hollowed out completely. Then suddenly, with a thunderous roar, the mountain collapsed. Giant boulders fell, burying the tunnels in a heap of rubble. Waves pounded against the shore, flooding most of the island. Only one cave was left, Inside, Milo and Balthazar crouched trembling in a corner. "The stones could have brought us so much happiness," he said. And as he spoke, Milo went back to work, carving a stone to give back to the island for its magical gift. Talk about a depressing ending, eh? Let's see what happens when we choose the happy one. "Balthazar is right," said Milo. "Is that what he said?" "Yes." But what could Milo give to the island? He thought about it for many, many days until at last he had an idea. He went down to the shore where the sea washed up all kinds of stones and looked for one that was about the same size as the one he had taken. He sat down and started chipping away at the stone. Curiously, the other mice gathered around. Milo worked for hours and hours until he had carved a beautiful sun into the stone. Then Milo led his friends to the hidden crevice in the mountain and put his carved stone in the place of where he had found the glowing one. The other mice began to dig. Directly below the crevice, they found a tunnel that ran deep into the mountain. The further into the mountain they went, the more glowing stones they found. Each mouse took one and carefully carried it home. Then, like Milo, they found an ordinary stone along the shore and started to decorate it. Some carved, some etched, others drew on their stones. Some wrapped them up or decorated them with flowers, leaves, and roots. They created beautiful works of art, then carried them deep into the mountain and placed their gifts where they had found the glowing stones. From then on, the windy winter did not bother the mice. They snuggled up happily in their bright, warm caves. Often they got together and told stories, just like they did in summertime. These gatherings made the long, cold, dark nights seem shorter and winter less damp and cold. Every year, the mice celebrated the beginning of winter. They met in Balthazar's cave and danced and sang. When it got dark, they took the magical stones on a parade up to the top of the cliff as a special tribute to their beloved island. The end. So that's the story of Milo and his magical stones. We hope that you enjoyed that story and can carry with you its message of caring for the earth and not taking for granted what is provided for us. And when we take, there are things that we can do to give back to our earth to keep it healthy and to keep it the way God intended it to be. So we hope that you have a wonderful day, and we hope to see you again soon. Bye, guys.